Doctors say pilot Nathan Carriker is alive today because he has good survival skills, a strong spirit, and a courageous crewmate. 24-year-old Carriker and his 25-year-old friend James Bixby took off from Palm Springs Airport Wednesday afternoon. Carriker was piloting his father's single-engine fixed-wing plane. According to Bixby, the plane couldn't gain enough altitude to clear the high canyon walls, and when they didn't have enough space to turn around, the plane crashed. Carriker broke his back and complained of a loss of feeling in his legs. Bixby dragged his buddy from the wreckage, covered him with a tarp, then set out to look for help. It took Bixby more than 7 hours to walk out of the canyon and into the small town of Oasis. That's where he called 911 from a payphone. Rescuers had to wait until daylight to search for Carriker, forcing him to spend the night in the canyon.
He's in pain, of course, but yeah, he's doing very well. I was very surprisingly spending the entire night in that mountain like that with the injuries that he had.
Deputy John Irish was one of the first rescuers to reach Carriker. He says the pilot was in good spirits. That, along with his friend's perseverance and courage, saved both of their lives. Near Palm Springs, Kim Baldonado, Channel 9 News.
It wasn't until daylight broke that rescue workers spotted the small plane. It was turned upside down and surrounded in the thick brush. Rescue workers airlifted the pilot to a clearing in Oasis, where he was transported to a waiting ambulance.
He was able to recall the day and the time and most of the events, and yeah, he was very, very alert and very coherent. He's in pain, of course, but yeah, he's doing very well.
The terrain was pretty difficult. The landing sites, the guys on the ground did a real good job of helping me maneuver the aircraft so as to avoid any additional problems. But yeah, it's real steep, real rocky terrain, real uneven surfaces to land on.
The rescue was made possible because of Bixby's heroics. After securing his friend, he walked 7 hours to this payphone where he called 911 for help. That phone booth is located off of Highway 86, some 10 miles from the crash site.
The person that hiked out, took him 7.5 hours to hike out from where the crash was. I understand it's at the Rock House, which is located up in Martinez Canyon. It's a very difficult drainage. It's boulder-strewn terrain. You can't drive a vehicle of any sort up there.
Both men were taken to Desert Hospital for treatment. Bixby is in satisfactory condition, while Carriker is suffering from more serious injuries.
He does have a broken back. He has been evaluated and is being seen by neurosurgery and will be admitted to the intensive care unit here at Desert Hospital.
Several people from a rescue team traveled on foot last night searching for the bright-colored single-engine plane. It wasn't until this morning, after 20 hours of solitude, that the Riverside County Sheriff's Department rescued Carriker by helicopter. This was no easy feat.
Given the terrain, it was real steep canyons and real uneven surfaces, so as far as landing, that was a little more difficult. Like John indicated, we had to do a tow-in landing and then a one-skid landing for some of the offloaded passengers. So the steepness of the surrounding walls and the uneven surfaces.
Treacherous, quite treacherous terrain, he said, and I think he feels very lucky to have found help, although it took quite some time.
But all along, Bixby was worried about his friend, 24-year-old Nathan Carriker, whom doctors say suffered a broken back in the crash. Carriker was conscious and even blinked his eyes when he first arrived at Palm Desert Hospital by ambulance. And even longtime paramedics like Tony Mitchell say Carriker's story is amazing.
He said he never slept. He never slept at all. I think it's kind of remarkable that he didn't become hypothermic, too low of a body temperature, laying out there all night, not able to move around, hurting a lot. But remarkably, he survived that quite well.
In near-freezing temperatures, Carriker spent the night unable to move, still in the canvas tarp his friend James Bixby wrapped him in when he left for help.
He knew he was going to be rescued. He knew his friend was going to make it down. He said he was confident of that. It was just waiting and how lonely it was, and of course the fear of dying.
Well, there is no fear of dying tonight for James Bixby or Nathan Carriker. Both are in a very warm hospital bed tonight, and a neurosurgeon will be examining Nathan Carriker to see what his broken back and what kind of effects that will have on the rest of his life. Reporting live from here in the Moreno Valley, I'm Marianne Cucci, Channel 2 Action News. Back to you in the studio.